in any sport?
I mean, unless you're talking about revenue generation, and at which point I think it's hard to argue with our friends in the Jerry Jones, our friend Jerry Jones, but that's just from a revenue standpoint, because obviously what they've done in the field for the last 20 years hasn't been worth mentioning.
Well, right. And, I mean, let's be honest. A monkey could probably run America's team and it'd still turn a profit.
Well, that monkey's name is Jerry Jones, and he's trying.
Well, I mean, just based on the Dallas Cowboy brand.
Yeah.
But I really think, and I don't know if, I don't think Leopold, well, at least he hasn't shown to this point that he's capable of being, I think his makeup is to be a hands-on owner. And as it relates to personnel matters, I am adamantly opposed to that.
He just seems delusional because, of course, he says he's hands-off, but he's not. Right, so either he's no longer hands off, or he thinks he is, but he isn't. Either willfully or not willfully ignorant to that discrepancy. He's just. But the problem is he owns a damn team. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do.
That's what it all really comes back to.
If he wants to be Mark Cuban, he can be Mark Cuban.
Right. And as it relates to Fenton, like I said, I'm okay with the GM, not kowtowing to the owner. In fact, in this case, I think that could be a good thing. But I have no idea what I guess from my standpoint, it would be nice to know what Fenton's vision is. Mm-hmm. Because, on the one hand, he shipped out Coyle, he shipped out Granlund, brings in Donato and Fiala, who are 21, 22, whatever. And then you've got Cunnin and Greenway, who are both youngsters as well. So is the mantra, okay, we got to get younger and faster? Or is it, no, we're going to decline the heavily rumored offer of Sean Corrali and Boston's number one for, again, 34-year-old Eric Stahl.
Yeah, a Mulder and Stahl.
Now are we really showing interest in 35-year-old Joe Pavelski and
right?
And I don't know
and
what is
Kessel?
Wayne Kessel, who's in his 30s, and I mean, does any player have any harder miles on him than Wayne Simmons?
Yeah,
and I love and it's I say that I'm a huge Wayne Simmons guy, but like 5 years ago.
Yeah, right, and like 4 injuries ago.
Right, and Lord above, how many brain cells did Pavelski spill during the playoffs? And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but it's like, what is the direction of this team? Are we trying to get younger and faster, or are we going to get a bunch of guys in their mid-30s with all kinds of hard miles on them? I don't understand what the direction is.
And that's the thing for me too, is if he's going to rise up and become independent and go against what the organization, which really means Leopold, wants, then he needs to be a good GM in order to pull that off. And the combination we have is an owner who's more meddlesome than he believes he is and doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and a GM who has given every indication that he also doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So what we can't have is a GM who says, "All right, I'm going to buck what the owner wants because I think I know what's right for the team," but is no good at doing that. And I mean, I don't know that. I mean, he hasn't articulated his vision. I'm not sure it's because he can't. He may not. I don't know that he has a damn vision. You mentioned the guys he traded for at the end of the season, but there's also Hunt and Potato and Pontus Aberg, and like each one of these things sort of stack up again on top of each other, and as a body of work now, one season in, I can't identify any specific overall, one or thing that they all sort of sum up to.
Right. And I will never profess to be a NHL draft guru, as we've kind of hit on several times tonight. But like, name one organization that is just a laughing stock for the draft picks that they've made and how they have not panned out. Who is it?
Edmonton.
Yeah. And
who are you thinking of?
No, that's exactly it. But we're supposed to take solace that the youngster,
the pride of that scouting staff,
exactly right, scouted for the Edmonton Oilers for 2 years,
for 2 whole years. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Yeah, we're gonna go off the word of the anti-Theo Epstein.
Right. Ugh.
Yeah. Ridiculous. All right. Well, the Wild, as usual, just bums me out right now. So I don't want to talk about the Wild anymore. Let's talk about soccer, which I know is also near and dear to your heart. But let's specifically talk about, and I've been wanting to talk with you about this. Let's talk about the FIFA Women's World Cup, and which I think so far has been great action. But the much ballyhooed and debated and analyzed U.S. team's first game, 13-0 against Thailand. And specifically, not the goals so much, because obviously the goal differential is a thing in this tournament. And so I don't have as big an issue with 13-0. But the debate that has cooled down somewhat, but was raging between their first and second game, about the vigor with which they celebrated all 13 of those goals, and the piece that I specifically reacted to was the assertion by the coach and Abby Wambach, whom I have immense respect for, Abby, that we wouldn't be talking about the celebrations, if it was a men's game, a men's team. And I absolutely disagree with that. To me, that's just sportsmanship. And sportsmanship transcends race. Well, it definitely transcends race, but also transcends gender in this case. And I absolutely would hold a men's team to that same standard of to their actions, to that same standard of, did it constitute poor sportsmanship when the score was out of hand against a team that clearly had no business even being on the field with you, to keep on celebrating like it was the celebrating with that vigor. If a men's team did it, I would have said that they were displaying poor sportsmanship, and when the women's team did it, I felt the same way. What's your take on this?
I completely agree, and I did take issue with Abby Wambach bringing gender into it, and believe me, I'm well aware that women athletes definitely have a way more difficult road than men's do.
Agree.
And you and I both have daughters that are into, different athletic endeavors, and yeah, she Abby Wambach lost me a little bit there. I can tell you, I would most definitely if that would have been the men's team, and I'm not going to go down the path of how much more successful the women's national team is compared to the men. But I would have hammered on the men's team just the same way. So, which kind of makes me feel like if I wouldn't hammer on the women's team, because they're women, isn't that just as condescending as
Right.
a lot of the other treatment they receive?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a woman, and I understand and respect the road that they have, being more difficult, more arduous, less fair, with worse compensation, than the men, just by virtue of them being women, which is ridiculous. But I understand that, and when there are things that arise in sports that rise to that issue, I either don't say anything, or I will side and have and will again side with the women, in that yes, that represents inequality and is such as unfair. But that cuts both ways. If you want equality, you have to accept equality. And to say that we wouldn't, that people wouldn't hold the men's team to that same standard on the celebrations is just wrong. It's just incorrect. It's incorrect. And so, given that it's incorrect, and maybe they would recant, Abby and the coach would recant that part of their statements at this point. Maybe they would. I don't know. But if they wouldn't, then what I would say is, if you want to be treated equally, you got to be treated. You got to be willing to be treated equally all the time.
Agreed. And I'm well aware, and I'm not drawing a comparison between a 12-year-old girls hockey game and a women's World Cup game. But I can tell you that on teams that I've coached, once the score starts to get out of hand and the outcome has pretty much been decided, it is absolutely a norm to cut back on the celebration.
Yeah.
To not rub it in your opponent's face. And that comes from nowhere but a place of sportsmanship.
Absolutely.
And I can further tell you, and again, an even further leap from a Women's World Cup game to Sunday Night Beer League.
Mm-hmm.
If a team starts running up the score in a game that I'm reffing, I will absolutely start chirping them for it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. As a player, on the receiving end of those beatings, I'll look, I mean, sometimes, sometimes it's not even the scoring of the goal, the 12th goal, the 13th goal, whatever it is, right? Because there comes a point where the defense has quit, and you've got the puck at the side of the net or the ball at the side of the goal wide open, and you're right there, and to turn around and go the other direction, and not tap it in is sometimes more disrespectful than just tapping it in.
For sure.
But you don't put your arms up. You don't woo. You don't holler. You don't swipe the ice. There is something to be said for taking the high road there and not rubbing it in, and that's what drilled into me by every coach I've ever had. And it's been drilled into my daughters, every coach they've ever had. And those games, in youth sports, when inevitably there's always a blowout or two every season. And those games, when they've happened, when it's been my kids' teams doing the blowing out, and the coach says, all right, we're going to pull back here, and we're going to switch, defense is going to play forward, and forward is going to play defense, and who wants to play goal, who's, not a goalie, and this and that, and we're going to, we're certainly not going to celebrate. We and the other parents and the teams have gone up to the coaches and the kids after the game and said, we're so proud of you for your sportsmanship. The sportsmanship you displayed. That is way more important to us as a parent than the fact that you won the game 12-0.
For sure. And nowhere in there is telling the kids not to play hard, not to play your best.
No, absolutely not. And if I had sons and they were in sports, my expectation would be the exact same.
100%. I don't see the need for any sort of a differentiation. It's same.
Yeah. Yep. It's not. I'm glad that you showed good sportsmanship because girls shouldn't because girls need to be good sports. No, I'm glad you showed good sportsmanship because that's the right way to act as a